So on the podcast today is Ray. Now look, Ghana in the World Cup is one that is going to, of course, tickle all of our fancy, and Ray has all of the insight for us. So Ray, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you very much, Jamie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolute pleasure to be with yourself too. So, do you want to start us off then, Ray? We're not even talking about the proper World Cup. Let's speak about the qualifiers first. Ghana obviously topped the group. They had a pretty good run, but ultimately they did play weaker nations. So what could we make of the first few games that they played in those qualifiers?
I think it was a rather unusual qualifier. Very important for the country as well, because if you remember, it was the qualifiers where we kind of had to respond due to the fact that the Black Stars had failed to qualify for an AFCON for the first time in more than 2 decades, and so essentially I think everyone was down. Everyone was completely sad because it doesn't happen. It's not something that a lot of the recent generation have seen. You usually don't even have such conversations when it comes to the Black Stars. However, the fear was that people had seen it coming, because since 2019, when Ghana got knocked out at the round of 16 stage of the AFCON, in 2021 Ghana were knocked out at the group stage, 2023 knocked out at the group stage, and then finally in 2025 Ghana didn't qualify. And so it showed a bit of progression as onto like how Ghana is sliding downwards. And so I would say honestly, not a lot of people were hopeful about qualification for the World Cup, because although it was teams that you would expect Ghana to beat, they were kind of like countries that you expect them to give Ghana a bit of trouble. Countries like Mali, even Comoros recently, who had beaten Ghana at the AFCON as well. But I mean, it was one of those things, and that's the thing about the Black Stars. You can never really predict what to expect from them, because against all odds, they managed to qualify from this group. And if you are looking at the coaching, we had to do it with a couple of coaches as well with the qualifiers, because we started with one coach and then we ended with Otto Addo, who came in for the majority of the qualifiers as well. And now Otto himself is not going to be here for the World Cup because Carlos Queiroz is around. So it's a national team that has seen a lot of changes, but at least they're going to be at their 5th World Cup, and a lot of Ghanaians are looking forward to it.
The 5th World Cup, you mentioned it. You took it straight out my notes there. You've been put into Group L, obviously alongside England, alongside Panama, alongside Croatia too. That is a really tough group. But the saving grace, I think, perhaps for that 3rd place team is they could also go through as 3rd place. So where do you rank amongst England and Croatia and Panama? Because I'm thinking maybe 3rd place could be acceptable.
Yeah, I think that's the expectation for many Ghanaians. Although Ghana goes into the World Cup as one of the least ranked teams, you still would expect them to beat Panama. And if you're looking at the trend analysis with competitions that usually have the best 3rd place teams qualifying, I think once you get 3 points, you are more than halfway there. You're probably 65% there. You just have to ensure that you have a very decent goal difference. If you could even sneak in a draw to make a 4, then you are definitely in the knockout round of the competition. And so I think that's the target. And Ghana really has its work cut out for them, because the first game against Panama, essentially, is their knockout game. If they win that game, it eases a lot of pressure. They go into that England and Croatia games knowing that a draw should be enough, or any decent defeat should still see them qualify to the round of 32. So I think essentially it'll come down to the Panama game. If Ghana manages to win that one, I think, who knows, potentially they could even sneak in a 2nd place.
Well, exactly. You never know. And I think this group has been in a lot of people's minds, obviously because I'm in England, so all I'm hearing is about this group. But at the same time, I think that it's important because there's a lot of good teams here. And I even think Panama could be getting written off quite early. So speaking about the Ghanaian team then, talk me through it. We've got Jordan Ayew, who, in all fairness, has been pretty awful at Leicester City this season. Thomas Partey's in the side, Semenyo. So you've got a very good attack.
Yeah, I think that's been one of the strengths of this Ghana team. It's always been about how good the attack has been. Last World Cup, we saw Mohammed Kudus really take the world by storm and announce his name. Unfortunately, this time around, he's not in the squad due to injury. But I still think that Ghana has similar quality in attack. that can hurt any opponent. And Antoine Semenyo, I think that he is the standout name for the team as things do stand. Had a remarkable season in the Premier League, scoring about 17 goals with Manchester City and Bournemouth, winning the FA Cup and then also the League Cup as well. But there are also some other names that on their day, and I think that's where the issue comes to, because aside Semenyo, who's been really consistent, you would have to add the asterisks of on their day on a lot of the other attackers. And so Inaki has not had the best of seasons in Spain. Jordan Ayew, as you mentioned, has not had the best of season alongside Fatawu Issahaku with Leicester, where they got relegated. Kamaldeen Sulemana still hasn't hit the ground running despite getting another transfer last season, joining Atalanta, where a lot of people thought it will finally click for him as well. And there's also Brandon Thomas Asante, who helped Coventry get promotion as well, but he is very young when it comes to the national team setup, less than 10 caps as well, so hasn't really showed much. And then Partey, who is the anchor, has also struggled for minutes this season, looked very leggy in the friendly against Wales. I would be surprised if he's able to play 3 matches in 10 days. And so a lot of the key players do have asterisks by their name. Interestingly, 3 of the back 4 that played majority of Ghana's World Cup matches in 2022 will be absent. And so there's no Tariq Lamptey, there's no Alexander Jiku, and there's no Mohamed Salisu. And so the coach needs to find a defensive partnership that hasn't played any competitive game together. And it could go both ways, honestly. People don't even know what to expect. But we do know we have 2 very talented young defenders. But it depends on who he's going to go with. Whoever he goes with is going to be a new parent, which could really go anywhere.
Before we speak about some of the other positions in the squad, I wanted to touch upon your coach. He's a very interesting man. He's managed Oman, Qatar, Iran, Egypt, Colombia, Iran again, Portugal, Real Madrid, South Africa, Saudi Arabia. Wow. He's managed every team, it seems, in the world. So what can you expect from him? What have you seen from him? What do you like about him?
Well, I think what we can expect is a change in mentality. And right from the first day where he was unveiled in front of the Ghanaian faithful, he did mention that he doesn't have the word defeat in his dictionary, and he sees every experience as a learning chance for him. And what he wants to see is his players fight and want to die for the flag in the country. And I think that's something that we've missed in the national team for a very long time. And it's not surprising to see that results have gone downwards since we had, the likes of Asamoah Gyan, Jordan Ayew, Stephen Appiah, Michael Essien. There's that lack of passion, that lack of grit, and so it sort of translates into the game where Ghana barely wins any duels, any 50-50s. It feels sometimes a little bit lackluster, especially against countries that you'd expect them to win. And so I think, the winning mentality is one thing that I've seen that he's implemented. If you're looking at videos from the camp, he's come in, played a number of games where he's always trying to remind the players of how good this country can be. He sent a personal voice note to all the players who got called up saying that he wants them to go to the US, Canada, Mexico, thinking of making history. And so from his point of view, it doesn't look like Ghana is just going to this competition to compete. And I think that is a good way of seeing it, because Ghana is capable. We saw what the team did in 2010 as well. And so I think that's what a lot of people would expect, to see players who are willing to fight and give their all. And I do think that with the talents that they do have, if they do fight, then they would have absolutely any chance of progressing past the group stage as well. In terms of play style, he has continually mentioned that. When you ask him, are you a defensive coach or are you an attacking coach? He says there's nothing like that. Once you don't have the ball, you defend. And once you have the ball, you try to score. He's a coach that simplifies football a lot. And sometimes in national team setups, that's what you need. You don't have the luxury and time like club side where you train every day to do complicated stuff. And so tactically, I think what we're going to see is arguably maybe a 4-4-2 formation, mid-block, maybe depending on the game state. They might drop deep and defend well, like we saw against Wales, where they pick their moments to attack and then they defend when they have to. And so I think that's what Ghanaians and people around the world can expect from this Ghana side, a very good counter-attacking team.
Your back line is full of notable clubs. A lot of the players, they've not come to my forte before. I know a few of the names, for example, Gideon Mensah is a very good player. You mentioned there's 2 young players in the team. Could you speak to me about them in the back line?
Yeah, so if you're looking at the back line, potentially we could... I mean, it's difficult to read meanings from the Wolves game because there were so many changes and some of the players had just come back from their clubs, and so we don't know who exactly is going to start. But the options in centre back, we saw Jerome Opoku starting with Jonas Ajete. Jonas Ajete, he just joined Wolfsburg, I think mid-season from Basel, had played in the Champions League in recent seasons as well. Very talented defender, had a very good game against Wales. And then on the bench, there's the likes of Alidou Seydou, who plays for Stade Rennes in the French league. And then also in the French league, there's Kojo Pompepra of OGC Nice, also a very young defender who just came up into the national team setup in the last few months. And then there's also Derek Lucasen. He plays for Paphos in the Champions League. He's slightly more experienced. And then there's Abdul Mumin as well, who also recently turned 28. He plays for Rayo Vallecano. He's expected to leave this summer as well. And so I think, yeah, you're right. On paper, they look like a decent backline that play for good enough clubs to be able to give Ghana a good platform for clean sheets in the tournament. However, the big question is chemistry. For a long time in this national team setup, I think the most consistent centre-back pairing that we've had has been Djiku and Salisu. For most of the big games, for most of the qualifiers, even the 2022 World Cup, that was Ghana's defensive pairing. And so it's not unfortunate, but because of injury, it means that we're going to see 2 new players start. It's really difficult to tell which 2 that's going to be. But in the last few months, I think Kojo Pompepra and then Jonas Ajete have had the most game time in the centre-back position. Jerome Opoku has been in and out, but I think he's also probably ranks 3rd in terms of the consistency of our centre-back. So I think we're going to see a new pairing. I'm just not sure which 2 that are going to start because the options are many. It could even be a 3-back depending on the game. So we'd have to wait and see.
I've made the promise to myself that after this World Cup, once African and Asian teams start qualifying for the World Cups again, and even South American, I want to try and watch them because I feel like there's some really good players, there's really good opportunities, but I don't think we're quite exposed to that in the UK. So what's been some of the most interesting games that Ghana have been qualifying for, if I had to watch them and go back in time?
How far back in time?
Well, this qualifying campaign.
This qualifying campaign... It was a rough ride with this set of qualifiers, but I think we had some very, very good games. The one against Madagascar. If you're a fan of Arsenal or how Arsenal play, you would have loved that one because I think we scored about 5 goals and 3 of them were from set pieces, and we kind of like killed the game in the first 20 minutes. One from a free kick from a corner. And so essentially Madagascar needed to open up and play. And that allowed Ghana to sort of play free-flowing football and catch them on the break and get some really nice goals as well. And then there was also, I think the early part of the qualifiers, we played a 4-3 against Central African Republic. It was here in Ghana. It was a very interesting match, actually. Ghana took the lead in like the first 10 minutes, and then Central Africa scored 2 quick-fire goals in the first half, I think. And so Ghana comes out of the tunnel in the second half, losing by 2-1. Something changes with the team talk. Ghana goes, 2-2, 3-2, 4-2 up. Everyone thinks the game is done. And then Central Africa score in the 90th minute of a free kick, and then everything is tense in other time as well. So that was like a 7-goal thriller as well that you can catch on. So I think there have been some really nice games as well. The one against Mali at home was if you love defensive and organized football, that was the one for you. Ghana needed to win that game and found a way to just score 1 goal and defend till the 90th minute. So, I mean, there are different variations of how Ghana won the games. Depending on your taste, there's the attacking one and there's the really good defensive one.
Well, I might have to watch both because I do like a good back line. I also like the goal, so I'll have to give both a watch. Lastly, I want to speak about the friendlies that have come after those qualifiers. For example, Japan, you lost 2-0, you lost 1-0 to South Korea. All the sides that you've played, they've all been they've been really high up in the FIFA ranking. So to even get points off these teams in friendlies would be quite difficult. What game really sticks out to me is probably the Germany game. You got beat 5-1 by Austria, but then you managed to only concede 2 against Germany. So from the outside looking in, it's a very mixed bag.
Yeah, and that's what I told you about this Ghana national team. It's very difficult to predict what they're going to do next. Everyone thought the team stood a chance against Austria, and then they go on to lose 5-1, and now everyone thinks, oh, they're going to lose 7-0, 6-0 to Germany 3 days later. And then everybody's like, wait, it's 1-1 with like 5 minutes to go. How is that even possible? I mean, eventually Germany get the winner, but it was a much, much better performance. And that's the funny thing. Don't be surprised if Ghana come to this World Cup and their best performance is against maybe an England. And then against Panama, where you expect them to play better, they don't. They've had that with them all throughout the history. You can go as way back into World Cup history, matches that even in 2014, you would have thought that, Ghana should be beating USA and struggling with Germany, but I think they were the only country to prevent Germany from winning a game. They went on to win the competition. So, I mean, it's a trait that they've had, but I think the Germany game, that there was this period where there were really good spells. Unfortunately, after the game, that's when Otoado was sacked. And so I think it kind of renders the Japan, South Korea, Austria, Germany game as void because, a new coach comes in, different ideas, different call-ups, different beliefs. And yeah, I think essentially the only sample size we have, although it's very small, is the Wolves game. And it's so difficult to make assumptions from that one because it was a game that was played right after the season. The likes of Semenyo couldn't even play because of they needed rest, and a number of key players weren't even ready to play. And also, he needed to give opportunity to all the players, and so ended up making tons of substitutions, which kind of like slowed the pace down. And so it was difficult to really pick anything from that. And it could really prove to be an advantage or disadvantage, the lack of time and friendlies for the new coach, because essentially he didn't have enough time to really work out his best 11 in a match scenario with high pressure. However, on the other side, it also means that his opponents don't know what he's coming to do. No one literally knows what his starting 11 would look like against Panama, as compared to the other countries who've been with their coaches for long and have played in a similar way. And so it's easier to know how they want to play. So that's the dilemma of Ghana right now. Ghanaians are a bit frustrated that the country couldn't get a second friendly. As we speak, they are yet to play a second friendly match. We're scheduled to face either Honduras or Jamaica early this week, but that couldn't come off due to differences in the agreement of the Football Association. So as things do stand now, Ghana don't have another friendly match, and so essentially, Kyrgios is just going to have one match before the World Cup.
So lastly then, without Mohammed Kudus that you mentioned there and a few big stars missing out, you have got a very good team. So I want to ask you then, where is Ghana going to finish in this World Cup?
There are two ways I see this. I don't think Ghana finishes third. I think Ghana finishes either second or fourth. Either they're going to surprise so many people and finish second, or they're going to have a terrible World Cup and finish fourth. I think they're going to finish second. I think they probably beat Panama, and the England match, I don't want to predict that one, but they'll probably get something from Croatia as well, and that probably should be enough to get second. I just think that there's just something about this new coach the way he speaks, the way he's carried himself, and even when you watch videos from camp, it just feels like there's something different. As to whether that will translate on the pitch, a Ghanaian can only hope. But I think that Ghana can surprise themselves and the world and finish second in Group L.
Well, Ray, thank you very much for joining me. All the best for Ghana.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, Ray. Really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you.